I'm going to resume. Sorry, phone call. I believe sometimes the devil's at its work, and I believe that we can't let the devil win, and no matter what the circumstances are, just continue to pray each and every day that things will get better, and I believe my wife had some friends that she checked up on out in California. Am I correct?
I think he had a high school friends, but I didn't reach out to them. I'm gonna reach out to them at some point. I've been too busy, but I'm gonna see if they're okay.
Um, um, I we have to take better care of our nation and the world at large. Um, um, it's like my father says, Satan's loose like a roaring lion, devouring whom he may destroy. But like we said, we can't let the enemy win. So I just wanted to touch base upon that as well. We're heading into a different topics, but later we're gonna get into the book that my wife is writing about. But I did want to touch upon the life of President Jimmy Carter, former President Jimmy Carter, and who attended the funeral, and how did different parties, both Republican and Democrat, how did they come? How would they be? In other words, their behavior towards each other. As you can see, screen that um, President-elect Mr. Donald Trump is speaking with former President Barack Obama, and let's take a look at the clip.
Dear Dr. K, I used to think I was never meant to be beautiful. You worked within my budget and helped me feel confident in the plan we made together. I love my new smile.
Get the smile you... We are just about 1 moment away from the beginning of the funeral service for former President Jimmy Carter, and there we have aligned surviving presidents. There's only been 45 in our nation's history, coming up on 45 anyway, in about 7 or 8 days from now. When we were watching this during the commercial break, and Dana, we were both observing that Donald Trump and Barack Obama have a lot to say to each other.
Yeah, they're having a
because they sure were.
I'm sure the lip readers will try to get a hold of that, but it is a chance for the President's Club. Unfortunately, sometimes you have to get together for a funeral, but this is in tribute to the former president, Jimmy Carter, who will be laid to rest later today. But the funeral first at the National Cathedral, which will be a beautiful ceremony covered in full on Fox Business.
Think about this picture now. Kamala Harris there, Hillary Clinton. Bill Clinton was just in the hospital and looks no worse for the wear. They had a close-up shot of...
I just want to get a snip clip of Miss Kamala Harris and her reaction and the ignorance. And I'm speaking to President-elect Donald Trump. I will get more into that. I'm going to continue to let the video play. And I'm happy that Mr. Bill Clinton is out of the hospital and doing well as too. Let's continue on with the clip.
Shot of him a moment ago, and he looks good, and he looks healthy, and together they come together, and, well, they will honor the 39th president And Joe Biden, the current president, will help deliver the eulogy, and we will certainly be available for that, to listen to his message today in Washington.
All right, and here we have the President of the United States, Joe Biden, and First Lady Jill Biden arriving into the National Cathedral for the beginning of this service. So we must be about to get underway as they take their seats.
It's a stunning place, whether there's a ceremony underway or not. Just a beautiful place in Washington, D.C. To visit and take some quiet time out, and we have watched so many moments together over the past several decades where the nation has paused to recognize moments in American history, and today this is yet another one of those.
It is a momentous day in America. I mean, we have the breaking news out of Los Angeles. Hunter Biden, we saw just a few moments ago, apparently there was reports that his house is burned down there as well. Al Gore, former vice president as well, is there. Many of them had been a part of, at least in some way, Habitat for Humanity, one of the beautiful organizations that Jimmy Carter helped found in his post-presidency.
So there will be several tributes. I mentioned Joe Biden will deliver one of them. In a bit of an ironic twist here, in presidential history, some of the other tributes will be delivered by Steve Ford, who is the son of the late President Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford wrote a tribute to Jimmy Carter. They forged a friendship together in that presidential club. And Steve Ford will deliver that. No one's heard it yet. This will be the first time publicly. And then Ted Mondale will read a letter that was written by his father and the former Vice President Walter Mondale today.
You will also hear from James Carter. He is one of the many grandsons of President Carter, and Joshua Carter as well, and Jason Carter. So Jason, Joshua, and James, all grandchildren of President Carter, will have a chance to pay tribute to their late grandfather, who, and no doubt they loved very much.
The Honorable Andrew Young out of Atlanta, Georgia, is also there today, and I was watching him the other day in an interview and talking about his memories of Jimmy Carter, not just as a president, but also as a governor before he went to Washington, D.C. And then the years that he spent in his post-presidency. Remember, he left the presidency, he was 45 years young, which he had a long runway after that. Went into hospice almost 2 years ago, and had survived a long time on hospice under great care as well. And Andrew Young will deliver the homily today, so his message will certainly be poignant. The other thing I'd point out is that the choir is so stunning, and the sounds are so beautiful. And we will hear the song Imagine, sung as a duet today by Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood. That's quite the pair.
It is certainly indeed. And the Carter family there, I believe that's who that is which was paying tribute there to and saying hello to President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden. Here we have Jimmy Carter, the late president, his casket about to be entered into the National Cathedral for the procession. Listen in here for a second.
Anyone with $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans may qualify for help from National Debt Relief. Minimum payments could literally keep you in debt for decades. $10,000 in debt can take anywhere from 14 to 20.
This is the National Guards that are ushering former President Jimmy Carter into the church.
This is quite the moment, and Dana, we remarked last hour, the last time we were there together was the funeral for George H.W. Bush, 41. And the memory I have from that day, not only was it cold like it is today, but how his son, 43, was leading the way for the family and his father into church that day.
And I remember his speech very well, and remember how stoic he was through the whole thing until the very end, because that was obviously a huge loss. They were very close, and the whole family was there as well. We have noticed that Barack Obama and it's President-elect Trump. I was going to say former president, but also President-elect Trump having a chance to catch up there as they sit next to each other.
There are 11 pallbearers. All of them are Jimmy Carter's grandchildren. Some of them considered honorary, some will have a hand on the casket.
Now notice that in the clip that former President Barack Obama and President-elect Mr. Donald J. Trump interacting with one another. A class act from President Barack Obama for being able to speak to President-elect Trump. He could have held grudges against him. Why? Because Mr. Trump won, but he let it go. He let it go. He let it go. He said, it is what it is. Let me speak to the man. Now, there is a clip in there where President-elect Trump tried to say hello to Miss Kamala Harris, but she just ignored him. It's like, get over it. You lost. Say hello, move. Say hello, and then get ready to move back to California. That's all it is. Kathy, what do you think of the highlights of the funeral?
The funeral, in America, they usually remember the past presidents. I didn't see the funeral, but I heard about it through some friends at McDonald's last night. They said that it was in the morning, and you know, it was Jimmy Carter's funeral. United Democrats and Republicans to no matter if you're a Democrat or Republican, that we honor and respect all our presidents of the United States, in other words.
And you see pictures former President George Bush and Miss Lady Bush, as well as former President Bill Clinton and Miss Hillary Rodham Clinton. It's lovely to see that these two have put the politicalness aside to honor the presidents of the United States. Sometimes you just gotta put those things aside and just honor each other. Whether you like them or not, you still, right?
Yes.
So, in any case, let me fast forward a little bit to time what Joe Biden said in the eulogy. Joe Biden eulogizes. You're just gonna give it the quick description what he did in the Jimmy Carter, and then we'll move on to different topics as well. I'm just gonna play a
Work
little
with peace
bit
of mind
this.
while receiving SSDI. Self-Employment Services helps you protect your SS.
Distinguished guests, most importantly, the Carter family. In April 2021, Jill and I visited Jimmy and Rosalind on a warm spring day down in Plains, Georgia. We wanted to see them. Rosalind met us at the front door with her signature smile. Together we entered a home that they had shared for almost 77 years of marriage. An unassuming red brick ranch home that reflects their modesty more than any trappings of power. We walked into the living room where Jimmy greeted us like family. That day, just the four of us sat in the living room and shared memories that spanned almost 6 decades. A deep friendship that started in 1974. I was a 31-year-old senator, and I was the first senator outside of Georgia, maybe the first senator, to endorse his candidacy for president. It was an endorsement based on what I believe is Jimmy Carter's enduring attribute: character, character, character. Because of that character, I believe, is destiny. Destiny in our lives, and quite frankly, destiny in the life of the nation. It's an accumulation of a million things built on character that leads to a good life in a decent country. Life of purpose, life of meaning. Now, how do we find that good life? What does it look like? What does it take to build character? Do the ends justify the means? Jimmy Carter's friendship taught me, and through his life taught me, the strength of character is more than title or the power we hold. It's the strength to understand that everyone should be treated with dignity, respect, that everyone, and I mean everyone, deserves an even shot. Not a guarantee, but just a shot. You know, we have an obligation to give hate no safe harbor. And to stand up to what my dad used to say is the greatest sin of all, the abuse of power. That's not about being perfect, because none of us are perfect. We're all fallible. But it's about asking ourselves, are we striving to do things, the right things? What values? What are the values that animate our spirit? Do we operate from fear or hope? Ego or generosity? Do we show grace? Do we keep the faith when it's most tested? For keeping the faith with the best of humankind and the best of America is a story, in my view, from my perspective, Jimmy Carter's life. A story of a man, to state the obvious, you've heard today some great eulogies, who came from a house without running water or electricity and rose as a pinnacle of power. A story of a man who was at once driven and devoted to making real the words of his Savior and the ideals of this nation. A story of a man who never let the tides of politics divert him from his mission to serve and shape the world. The man had character. Jimmy held a deep Christian faith in God, and that his candidacy spoke and wrote about. Faith as a substance of things hoped for and evidence of the things not seen. Faith founded on commandments of Scripture. Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and all thy mind and all thy soul, and love thy neighbor as thyself. Easy to say, but very, very difficult to do. In his life, in this life, any walk of faith can be difficult. It can be lonely, but it requires action to be the doers of the world. But in that commandment lies the essence, in my view, found in the gospel, found in many faith traditions, and found in the very idea of America. Because the very journey of our nation is a walk of sheer faith. To do the work, to be the country we say we are, to be the country we say we want to be. A nation where all are created equal in the image of God and deserve to be treated equally throughout our lives. We've never fully lived up to that idea of America. We've never walked away from it either because of patriots like Jimmy Carter. Throughout his life, he showed us what it means to be a practitioner of good works and a good and faithful servant of God and of the people. And today, many think he was from a bygone era. But in reality, he saw well into the future. A white Southern Baptist who led on civil rights. A decorated Navy veteran who brokered peace. A brilliant nuclear engineer who led on nuclear nonproliferation. A hardworking farmer who championed conservation and clean energy. And a president who redefined the relationship with a vice president.
Okay, that was a nice eulogy presented by our president, Mr. Joe Biden. I believe that he said some nice words for the former president, Mr. Jimmy Carter. Kathy, your
he highlighted about the successes of Jimmy Carter.
right.
Yes.
We talked about farmer.
Yes, about his life.
About his life.
Basically overall.
Mm-hmm. So, as you see in the back, you see Mr. Michael Pence and Ms. Kamala Harris, former President Barack Obama. I don't know what happened to Miss Michelle Obama. I don't know. But a lot of people turned out for this beautiful service in memory of Mr. President Jimmy Carter. In that case, may he rest in peace with the Lord. And in any case, Kathy, I want this last 30 minutes or so, 40. I want to get into your relationships in regards to the book that is going to be presented on Amazon. And I think, this is just my opinion, the theme should be from pain to from pain to happiness. From pain to happiness.
Mm-hmm.
In the first sections of your book, and you had a rough I call it a roller coaster ride. Meaning that couple exes, not all of them, but majority of them, did not treat you correctly. Did not meet up to your expectations, and you were surrounded by the marijuana and all the men, and you had a very tough, difficult life. And how would you say how are you better now than what you were way before you met me?
I couldn't find the right guy. That number one. That was number one. And number two, it took a long time. I was dating since 18.
Right.
And I couldn't find the right person. The longest I think I dated before Calvin, before during college, was like 3 years. But my longest relationship before Calvin was like almost 4 years. With the guy before Calvin, he was my best friend before we dated. And the only thing we had problems with is he gave me a curfew. Calvin doesn't give me a curfew, but this guy did because of what happened with his ex-girlfriend before me. So, because we lived in the Columbus Circle area at the time when we were dating. But at some point, when one of us lived in Yonkers, one of us lived in Nanuet, it kind of got a little bit hard because we lived in two different counties, the guy and I. Because we were in a tough transition from living together to that point. He was the one who was a hero because he told me that he suspected that every time he drops off something to my house in the Bronx, that there's something wrong with my husband at the time, the first husband, for my husband Calvin. There was a problem, like I think he smelled weed or something, and there was a girl. He invited people over, and then he said that I can't invite people. My ex-husband at the time, who was my husband, said that I couldn't invite people. He was always a jealous man, but he can do it, but I can't do it. I can't bring people over. He can bring people over. There was something wrong, and Brandon talked to me. That's his name. During the best friend who dated me at one point, he talked to me that maybe if he spoke to him that the second month, I think the third month that I was married, he said that he asked Brandon maybe if it's best if he can be in an open relationship because I'm changing our marriage to open marriage. And Brandon was shocked, and he said he'll think about it because he knows that I didn't know about it. So basically, I think when the next day he said that he dropped by my house in the Bronx, in the South Bronx. But he was kind of shocked that my husband at that time, he said that he's gonna change the relationship to open. Did you not know that? I said, well, I did not know that. He didn't talk to me about it yet. So it was a little heartbreaking because now I gotta look for somebody. He said that if you want the open relationship, I have some feelings for you, and I want to give you a chance, but you're married, but your husband was saying that Kathy needs to look for somebody, because this is an open marriage, needed open marriage. So we need some space, so do you wanna, I know it sounds funny, but I guess he can't take care of you, so I feel best, he says up to you, but I feel best that, this is what Brandon said, I feel best maybe you will have a better life with me, he said, really, to be honest with you, because this guy is a plumber, and at least I do personal training too and like that, but I can make time for you, he said. We will figure it out together. When I first, met you 2 weeks ago, I didn't know that you didn't know that there's certain things that go on in your marriage, but how long, he was wondering how long did I meet him. I said with it just this year, and I went, and my grandmother is in the hospital. I think he took advantage of you. Yeah, he probably don't have, I wonder if he's an illegal immigrant.
Right.
If he's an illegal immigrant or something, because why did he marry you and then he want to open relationship? Something's not right, Kathy. But there's a reason why I ran into your life.
Right.
We met at that Starbucks, and you sat down.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, do you believe in God, Kathy? I said, yes, I do. I'm Catholic. Oh, so am I.
Yeah.
This is before I became Baptist. That we, I just, what was it? I will see, I know that we're going to last a long time. More than your husband. That we're going to try to get a divorce so then, you can have a better life. And moments later, after that night, we just got my mail, and we didn't change my address because of my doctors in Westchester and the Bronx. Because some of the doctors, if you're in another borough, they, it gets questionable. So some of my mail was going to Manhattan, some of my mail was going to Bronx. But and then I had some of my mail going to. Oh no, I didn't have no more mail going to Pennsylvania. I forgot because I didn't relocate back yet until after the Yeah, I did. At some point, we were talking about my address being out of state. It might not be a good idea because of looking for work. So he supported me throughout all the years of almost 4. What was it? How long was it, Calvin? He said 4 years.
Yes.
We're out for 4 years before Calvin.
Right.
It was about 4 years because it was 2007 to 2011. About almost 4 years, like 3 and change. So it's about 4 years, you'll say. That he and I have been together. There was a situation that the mileage, when we didn't live together, kind of drifted us apart. But we still, we still had the connection that we still work things out, even though now he can't give me a curfew because we don't live together. But we did the best we can to work things out. But there were certain, like his schedule. He couldn't come with me all the time because he had like a busy personal training schedule because he was very in demand at the gym. I forgot which gym it was, but it was not New York Sports Club. It was some other gym. I think Planet Fitness or something. I think it's Planet Fitness. I'm not sure because years ago. But he was a personal trainer and also his store hours. But he found time that we went all over. We went all over the United States too.
Oh, wow.
We did. But that was a long time ago. So I saw a lot of states, even down south. Not only with my parents, with him too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we found time, and my a lot of people question me. This is why I'm gonna write in the book about the situation is that the publishing company, they said they want more pages, so I might start writing more pages about, you know, some of the memories when he and I were dating, and some of the memories when we were best friends after the dating part.
Right.
He was also a godfather too, with the same godchild I had, because he was a replacement because there was a so-called friend. He was not being a good godfather, so he was the replacement.
Yes.
He lived in Nanuet, so he found a way to be in Nanuet because he works in ShopRite Scarsdale. Even though he would not work in ShopRite Scarsdale, he would relocate himself and like that, because our friend Andy passed away. It was passing away from cancer. So when he moved in Westchester, it was a relief because I can't always take Susie, the goddaughter, to choir rehearsal because the organist had talked to me that it would be past her bedtime, and I don't want her sleeping the next day in school. Because one time she fell asleep in school, and she did, unfortunately.
Wow.
And it backfired at me, and then Brandon, he's like a father to the child. Even though he's a godfather, but he was like a father to her. He was kind of mad at the mother. Like on me, I'm like the mother figure. That I should have not, I should have dropped her off before I went to the choir rehearsal, or I should have not went to the choir rehearsal at all.
Yeah.
But I didn't think that. But the problem was I was thinking about how would Calvin get home. That was what happened.
Yeah.
But
yes.
That was the situation. I was stuck. I should not put two things in one day. I didn't know how the traffic, and I didn't realize that the traffic in Central Westchester was different from Harlem or something like that. It get worse at night because there's a lot of people. My dad was saying maybe there are a lot of people working in the city at night from Westchester and like that. So there was a big overflow of traffic because what happened was that Calvin understood that I had to go home, and she had to go home first, but the sawmill was backed up at night due to construction. I did not know that there was, that was the situation on my part, like a parent thing. That was a little poor parent. But then later on, the organist and my father-in-law, who's the pastor, they sat down and talked with me that the child should have not. I should not gone to rehearsal. And then Calvin would find a way. Somebody would be able to drop him off.
Or drop the child off before rehearsal.
Right. No, but I wasn't able to make it. Yeah, that was the problem. I made a mistake in calculation. That's what happened. So I got scolded by Brandon the next day on the phone because of poor,
Yes.
Because I lived in this county more than him.
Yes.
And I should have known better, he said.
Yes.
Yeah. That, I didn't think of it. I should have asked Calvin before. That's what he said. I should ask Calvin before I got the girl. But
Right.
now it was too late already by the time of thinking of those things. But he was a good father figure too. Even though he and I we did have a child, but we both had a miscarriage, unfortunately. So there was a child with him and somebody else. The child was mixed with two guys at that time because of the open relationship. Because I was I said, oh, the other guy will work out, but he's like, I think I'm gonna be, when the guy. What happened was that there was the birth control, the pill. The antibiotic interfered, and I didn't know. I was on psychotropic meds and all these other medications like allergy meds and like that. I had to withdraw fast, but I didn't withdraw enough that it's not only the food. Like Ray said, that it was also the eating too. I didn't eat 3 times a day also, but the situation was that it wasn't meant to be. But the blessing for Brandon and I is that we were just meant to be best friends, and we have a goddaughter together. Unfortunately, he passed away. I'm still during the holidays. That's when the grieving gets bad because I'm not. It's only during the holidays that happens with him and other people. It's not I had like total, and also Calvin's godmother, so it's 2001 people died besides family. So they put me in a stress group now, and in the grief and loss group in the Greater Mental Health of New York. They used to be called MHA, but they changed the name now. So now they have these groups, and I'm meeting a lot of people who go through certain things, either similar or different, but we're there for each other no matter what.
Right.
Even the stress group too. So basically, I'm probably gonna write about. I might write beyond about the excess. I was thinking, when I was thinking about the book, I have to talk to the publisher. How many pages can I get minimum wise?
Right.
Because I'm not reaching 100 no time soon for some reason. I'm trying to find other ways. I might have to put it in short story, not just poetry. I might have to put it in short story form too.
Mm-hmm.
A mix of both.
Mm-hmm.
Because certain things, you can't do everything in the poetry. Sometimes you have to do it into short story form.
Right.
And I have a poem relating to him. I'm going to say it on the 18th of January. It's going to be in, I think, Bergerloft in Nyack, New York, in Rockland. So if anybody can show up, show some support, you're more than welcome to show some support if you choose to. So I'm going to read all about him. I wrote a poem about him and what he did.
Right.
At the time as best friends, and before we dated, and then after. The reason why he said that best friends, because the other best friend, he died, not of COVID. It was before pandemic. The friend died, so he turned to me because we stuck together through thick and thin. And I was the best friend from the Bronx because he met me during the time I lived in the Bronx. So, yeah. Someone said I should write maybe the book might be consumed about writing a chapter about him with my ex-husband cheating on, what is that about that open, and someone said at the gym about open relationship. Maybe I should talk about that. Sometimes open relationship is not about only sex orgies. For my situation with open relationship, it was not about sex orgies and all that stuff.
Right.
Mine was about finding somebody who was compatible for me when I was married to the wrong person the first time.
Right.
And then God brought me him to go to Calvin, I think.
Right.
Because Calvin existed at some point as friends.
Right.
But but he met Brain at the time. He was my boyfriend, so they talked then like that. They remain friends.
And now we're lovers.
Now we're lovers, yeah. I was going to get to that.
Yes.
You read my mind.
Yes.
So, the situation is that sometimes that was a blessing, that open relationship, because the guy, what happened was according to the police officer, he might have married me because he can't get through certain programs like that. That's why probably the guy married me, according to the cop.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon came with me. He had to tell him that I'm the boyfriend of her, even though we're in an open relationship. He told the cop. So the cop was saying that I know I don't have money for a divorce, he said, but maybe he was talking to Brandon, and that's why they said to bring him with me to the police station, because he had illegal drugs in my minivan, unfortunately. They contacted my dad. And what was it? But the situation is I couldn't get divorced because I was only married 3 months.
Right.
And Brandon was telling my dad that I'm gonna do my best to take good care of her, but I think he was asking what was his ethnicity and like that. Oh, you're mixed. You're similar to the Italian, the Spaniard, and the Dominican. They're similar to Filipino. Oh wow, perfect. My dad said, "Oh wow, yeah, I'm sorry. I know I'm in an open relationship, Mr. Palm. I'm gonna try to see if I can make a closed relationship." at some point, because I know it's a mess. I'm like stuck in the middle. He was telling my dad, but we're gonna make sure that I think I'm gonna let her live with me for now. I'm gonna pay for the parking garage and like that, because we're just gonna get her mail and then she'll just move in with me. I'm gonna find out if the lease is under her name, and then we're gonna see if we can take it out and put his name, and we're gonna try to figure out if we have to go through the court system and I have to pay for an attorney or something. Yeah, that's how big of a mess it was, Calvin.
Right.
That my husband, the first husband, messed me up.
Right.
We're not saying his name because he's a money hungry guy.
Yes.
There's a reason why I'm not saying his name.
Right.
Because this guy's money hungry.
Right.
Before Brandon died, he said if I do plan to write about a book about something, do not mention the guy's name, because he's gonna be digging for money like he married you and like that. He's gonna try to suck you into more problems,
Right.
which I don't want, and he knows that I do not want that. So he advised me before he died of COVID. Unfortunately, the fever couldn't go down.
Yeah.
And
Yes, I mean.
according to Calvin, he was looking steaming hot red in the face.
Right.
The 105 fever. On the, I think he, what was it? I had a question. Well, this goes to Calvin, because did he have Messenger or something?
I believe so.
Because he said that you didn't have an iPhone, or through somebody's Messenger.
Right.
He didn't have Facebook.
Right.
Who was it who had the Messenger? Do you remember which friend?
No.
It was another friend of ours. They had the Facebook, I think.
Yes.
And they were getting through to Calvin. Wait a minute, I think I know who it was. Susan. The FaceTime.
Oh, yes, yes.
Susan. Yeah, the FaceTime. There we
Yes.
go. Susan Mickens.
Right.
She passed away. I miss her too.
Right.
She's the aunt of my goddaughter. Basically, he looked red in the face, even that he had to talk, because Kathy and Calvin weren't in the same place. So then, I think the last 2 hours before he died, I had the last 2 hours of seeing him before he died. It was very hard for me because he was very red in the face. The temperature couldn't go down, and then they were giving ice packs to cool him down, and the nurse and but they couldn't do anything. He had the COVID very bad.
Wow.
He was a very healthy guy. He didn't have any health issues, just allergies. That was it.
Yes. Wow.
That's why I'm not weeping now, but before I was weeping at first, but I got over it because I didn't get over it because there were too many things. He said that I was the long-term, I was his second girlfriend. He never went out with nobody after me.
Right.
Because he said there's nobody like me, but he know that.
I agree. I agree, Kat.
That's why everybody who was my ex, after me, they couldn't find nobody after me. It's not only him. There's more than him.
Yes.
KJ, he found somebody, but Albert didn't find nobody no more.
Right.
And he didn't find nobody no more.
Right.
There were other people that couldn't find nobody no more, but those are the two.
Right.
There are some of my exes, they couldn't find nobody anymore after me.
Right.
So they just stayed single.
Right.
I must have, in a way, it's a good, according to him, he said that you bring like a good vibe. That's why your ex-husband, before Calvin, he brought a bad vibe, but God bless you that you have good vibes.
Right.
That's why nobody want to date someone after you, probably, because you were good to them.
Right.
They couldn't find someone like you good, so can I. That's why I stayed single. And, according to, I know things didn't work out, he said, with our relationship because of the curfew thing. It was just I didn't want to lose you, he said.
True.
because it was dangerous where we were living in the we lived near the subway station. That's what it is. Walking distance. The parking garage is far away. We live in the city of Manhattan at the time.
Right.
And then when we go to when I'm in Nanuet and you're in Yonkers, our schedules got hectic that we couldn't hardly see each other.
Right.
So, you know, he had nothing against Calvin. He said that, he said that, am I sure that does Calvin know that I like to be out late and like that?